A BetterHelp ad. Therapy isn't just for times of major challenge. It's a valuable tool for anyone wanting to improve their well-being. It can help you develop healthy coping skills, set boundaries, and support personal growth. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a fully licensed therapist right from your phone. No commuting, no waiting rooms. And you can switch therapists at any time. Sign up at betterhelp.com and get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. We're your hosts, John and Kristen Barber, and today we're back. First full week in the books. We're going to talk a little bit about Dallas, a little bit about Indy, talk over a couple unfortunate injuries, as well as some international players to look forward to returning to rosters this week. But before we do and get into all of that, Kristen, how are you?
What's up? I'm pretty good.
Happy Monday as we're recording this.
Happy Monday.
It is 94 degrees in the city of brotherly love. We are currently recording without the lights on. And it's like one of those when you're in school and you're in middle school and it's like, we got to keep the lights off. It's really hot. We know you're going to freak out if you get too hot. So just like, nobody do anything. Put your heads down on your desk. Don't talk.
That seems very extreme.
I've had this happen to me.
Okay. But yeah, all the shades are closed. All the lights are off. Mm-hmm. We're doing what we can do.
Got to keep it cool. Mm-hmm. Got to keep it cool. But before we get into our subject matter on the day, if you'd like to send us an email, you could do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com. Connect with us on Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok at ATBPod. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform it is that you listen to the show. That really helps us out. Subscribe to the YouTube. And, of course, tell your friends and family to listen to the show. The season has just begun, and there's plenty of WNBA action to take in every single night. So tell your friends and family to lock in and join along with us as we continue into the 2026 season. Okay, Kristen, we're going to talk about Dallas and Indy in a little more depth, sort of changing up our week-to-week style, touching on multiple teams this year and storylines. But before we do, I think it's behooving us to touch on a couple unfortunate injuries by some really important players on some really important teams.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of injuries in general. People still coming back from injury from the offseason and a lot of injuries right off the bat. Mm-hmm. We all heard about Rakia Jackson. Still no news at this time.
Yeah.
It didn't look great.
No.
So we predict she'll be out this season.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Okay. I thought that's what you thought.
No, supposedly she was in decent spirits. Coach Marsh said last night. Doesn't mean anything, but doesn't mean to me that it's a guarantee. I heard that she was able to put weight on the knee.
Okay.
So that's all I have. I'm still hopeful that this is more of a 3-month injury and not a full year injury.
Yeah.
Still probably really bad, but hoping for the best for Rakia.
No, absolutely. Like the Sky have gotten off to such a hot start. Like this would just really put a huge blow on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they still have 2 players that are injured that have to come back. So it's just, they're going through it.
Yeah. And Skylar dealing with an eye injury.
Yeah.
Probably not super serious, but she missed a game this week and had to leave a game early. Mm-hmm. You don't want your primary point guard to have an eye injury, but it's fortunate that they have a bunch of them.
They got a lot more.
They do. And I'll be complimentary. JC Shelton's been good. Tosh looked good in the role. So maybe it's okay for Sky, but get back Sky, please. And hopefully Rakia too.
I need Azare to come back.
Yeah.
Azare is, I think, on 2 of my fantasy teams. So TikTok on
Kind
that.
of feels like this week for Azure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We will see. We also, unfortunately, had Emma Sikova with the Lynx tore her ACL.
That was the first season-ending injury of the year.
Yeah.
Sad, because she looked promising. Only 21. I know friend of the pod, Jonathan, who's a Lynx fan, was very excited about the prospect of what she could bring to the team as a center at an important position of need for that team. To lose her, very much a bummer. Wishing Emma the best as she recovers.
Yes. And then Aaliyah Boston has missed her first game ever in the W and in college.
Yes. Not
She
her
missed
first
games in Unrivaled,
Not her first professional missed game. However,
as was being said on the broadcast.
correct.
Her first ever professionally missed game, no.
Now, we're going to check you on that.
But in the W, yes. And through college, she never missed a game. So she's been like very healthy throughout her whole career.
Yes.
But yeah, she's just been dealing with this nagging lower leg injury. Hopefully she comes back soon. Those are our three, I think, majorly new injuries.
Yes.
But a ton of people have been getting concussions.
Like a bizarre amount of concussion injuries to start the season. And concussions that I feel like I haven't even seen. It's like, okay, I mean, people are going down to the floor hard, but I'm
Just
not
getting
noticing.
like whacked in the head, not even falling. Like Ariel Atkins just got smacked in the head and has been out with a concussion.
Who else? We got
Dominique,
yep.
Ryan Howard,
Ryan Howard, yep.
Chechi,
Yeah.
which was
Achilles
early. She's been
Analosini,
out a few games.
right?
It's, yeah.
Yeah, it has been pretty wild as far as the injuries are concerned. Obviously, we got the bigger ones, concussions, but I mean, I'm nervous about concussions with what happened to Satu. A player that's still out dealing with a cyst. Get back soon, Satu. Sabrina, fortunately, some positive injury news.
She
Practicing
was
full
practicing.
today.
Yes, that was good.
Yep.
Yes. So
But-
we're keeping our eye on these injuries,
Yes.
hoping for no more.
Yes. Hoping for no more.
But a lot of players, well, a handful, will be coming back from their overseas play. Over the weekend, the Valencia team in Spain won La Liga Femenina, the Spanish league. So that team, Valencia's team, had Alba Fam, Leonie Fibish, Raquel Carrera on it. So those three will be coming back. We'll finally be able to see Ottawa play.
Can't wait.
I also need Phoebes back. She's on one of my fantasy teams.
Yeah. Some reinforcements for the Liberty, for sure.
Yeah.
Other players, Monica Koamakani, she should be back for Phoenix soon. There's Yusta Yosite, who I would assume is going to be around the corner for Golden State. But a significant number of high-level players.
Layla Lacan.
Layla Lacan, yep.
Give her back to Connecticut. They need her.
Yeah, she got the text. Coach Mezion said, please, Layla, come on. But she's due. That'll be great. But yeah, I think the international reinforcements are going to be something to follow. Going to be fun to see some of these players fitting into these squads and giving a couple extra bodies to some of these teams that could certainly use them.
Yeah. So while we've had, a handful of games for every team, the Ace is playing 5 games already. I think that's kind of crazy. 5 games in 1 week.
Busy schedule. Yeah.
This is not, a lot of changes still are happening to these rosters as we move into week 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at like a Kate Martin, who this week was cut by Golden State. Now she's playing what seems like meaningful minutes on the Los Angeles Sparks out of a development spot.
Yeah.
It's like things are happening. Players are still getting cut. Players are still getting signed. There's a lot of movement, a lot of player movement based on the injuries and hardship contracts and also players returning internationally. So these rosters are going to very much be in flux for the first several weeks at least of the season.
I kind of love to see that because
Me too.
In the past, last year, teams are only required to have 11 players on them.
Yes.
So someone gets hurt, whatever, they don't usually generally sign anybody else or do anything different. But now you have to have 12, and you have to, well, I guess you don't have to have these development players, but you can have these development spots that move into the roster. So there's so many more places and spots that we're dealing with now, where players get to come in when they wouldn't have in the past.
And we're not even necessarily seeing like, okay, the development pool player XY is playing, like moving up and being able to play on a given night. Like okay, there's Kate, even though she's on a development pool, you don't have to like, I'm assuming you don't have to let the league know, like, okay, she's coming up and she's going to play. There is a limited number of games that these development players are allowed to play from the development pool. We're not at the point where we need to start tracking that, but it will be something to pay attention. Some development pool players are already playing on their teams, and then theoretically they could be promoted to full-time roster spots at some point down the road if they're playing meaningful minutes. Before we get into the main subject, Dallas and Indy, your highlight of the week?
Yeah. There was a lot of great games this week. I think my highlight was this fourth quarter of the Aces Dream game. That was like the best basketball that you can watch.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't, the whole game was not that exciting, I would say. The Aces led basically the whole game.
Right.
And the Dream, they made a lot of mistakes. But this fourth quarter, when they came roaring back and went on a 20-4 run, was crazy.
Yes.
I loved watching Jordan Canada in this game.
Yes.
Like, I greatly appreciated her and her speed in this game when like really nobody else on the Aces could compete with that except Kennedy Carter. So that became very fun little back and forth between the two of them. Medina Okot had a double-double because Angel Reese got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Not a good Angel game.
No, she had 8 turnovers. Obviously, Asia is going to give anybody trouble. But Medina Okot was great off the bench.
Yeah.
So I love to see that bench development. And Tahina Paopao had to start because Ryan was out. She usually comes off the bench. So I am really looking forward to how those bench units start developing more in Atlanta.
Yes.
And they came so close to winning. The stadium was so loud. In the big stadium. They were in a bigger stadium for this game.
Yeah.
We had friend of the pod, Katie, boots on the ground. But Chelsea Gray at the end of this game just completely like seals it.
Yep.
She had the winning basket to give them a 1-point lead. And then she stole on the inbound to close it.
Demon.
I was like, both sides of the floor. She's such a demon. She's just like, she's your best one-on-one player.
Oh, she's amazing. We have seen her do this again and again and again and again at this point. And she's the person you want. Like, you have Asia Wilson, arguably the best basketball player in the world right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue.
And you give unarguably the best basketball player in the entire world. And you're giving the ball to Chelsea Gray because she just does it. It makes it look easy. She had the space, calmly knocks down the jumper, under 4 seconds to go. I'm just going to mind if I grab this, take it. Sorry, Atlanta. I will be, complimentary from that surge by Atlanta. Jordan Canada to give them that go-ahead bucket, that go-ahead layup that she made high off the glass. A beautiful, beautiful spot of basketball, I'll say. Something that, they were saying, Kate Scott on the call was saying that's something that she's worked on, or maybe it was LaChina was saying that's something that Jordan Canada has been working on, and it showed. I was, kind of critical of them re-signing Jordan Canada. Like, does it make sense to have her when you have a Tahina Paopao? It makes sense in situations like this because she gives you that extra angle of speed. Tahina needs to fill in for Ryan, so you're able to play them both. They both work. Imagine if they have Ryan Howard in this game, it's probably a different result. And Atlanta taking home a huge Bree Jones too. Bree Jones too.
Yeah.
Probably a hugely different result. I will say congratulations, friend of the pod, Katie, for getting that Chelsea Gray autograph on the way out. That was pretty huge. But yeah, great stuff. Great game.
What about you, John? Your highlight?
I will say my highlight as a major fan of this player was to see a career high from Brittany Sykes, dropping 38 last night against the Sparks, a 106-96 win by the Toronto Tempo, who are proving they can score the basketball any given night. I was questioning about, their decisions to go with the high end contracts, to go with these maxes of Marina and of Slim. But you see just how in form Brittany Sykes is to get this done. What was she, 15 of 15 from the line? Like nails at the line, nails driving to the basket. She couldn't be stopped. There was nothing that the Sparks could do. Kelsey Plum was doing her darndest to answer, and it didn't matter because Toronto just gave it to them. We got our first dubs in the chat tunnel by Brittany Sykes after this game, something she brought over from the Washington Mystics when she was there with them. And it was a wonderful sight to see. If I'm a Toronto fan, I am psyched, no pun intended, that Brittany Sykes is on my squad.
Yeah. And that game last night on Sunday night was a rematch of Toronto LA because they played each other again previously Friday, where Toronto had a huge comeback at the end of the game and just barely lost.
Yeah.
So this was, saying don't sleep on us.
No, they commanded this game the entire way. They really did. And good stuff.
Yeah. Great all around.
Great all around, I would say. I would agree. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today. The Dallas Wings, the Indiana Fever. We both talked about how this matchup and opening weekend was probably our favorite game. The 107-104 win by Dallas over Indy in Gainsborough Fieldhouse. We wanted to pay attention to both how these teams responded to, an exciting weekend, an exciting opening weekend in one sense, and a bummer of an opening weekend in another sense. Let's start with Dallas because it has not trended the best this week for that squad. Couple of losses, couple of questionable post-game comments, couple of questionable roster decisions. I'll let you start. Where do you want to go first with Dallas?
So obviously Dallas coming off of this huge high opening day, but they have the hardest schedule in this first quarter of the season.
Very important.
That was a whole, graphic they put on the screen at one point. Dallas is at the top of hardest schedule right now. So I do expect to have some adversity at the beginning of this season for them, which can be hard because when you have such a new roster that's put together, you want to be able to gel immediately. That helps. But this clearly they've gotten off to a little bit of a rough start at the beginning here. They have their new coach, Jose Fernandez, who made some comments about, I don't have them. Do you have them? I don't have them right in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, the gist of it was that he, said we need to have accountability and, people asking for certain shots at certain times. You can't always accommodate that, blah, 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 blah. He was ultimately a little rough on the team for somebody who's brand new to the league. Kind of he didn't say anybody by name, but he sort of threw certain players. They certainly knew he was sub-tweeting them. He kind of threw them under the bus.
Well, we know who.
Well, we can assume who.
People are speculating.
Then speculate away.
Well, I don't know. I think after their game against Atlanta on Tuesday, when, presumably the only person that, didn't get a lot of play time was Maddie Siegrist.
8 minutes, I believe, she played off the bench.
So people were like, oh, is Maddie upset? But then Maddie had comments. Maybe this is why Maddie had comments, but Maddie had comments saying, she's taking what she can get. She's doing what she can do in where they put her. And that did not seem so pointed to me.
No, especially because that was the first game of the week. And then in the second game of the week, she ends up starting the second half. And she was, 7 of 11 in that game. Shot the ball really well and was really efficient. So, it was a little questionable at times.
Some people are saying that they think it's about AZ Fudd. Which I cannot think that that's true. She's literally, it's her third game ever in this league. And she was, I guess, dealing with some sort of injury. So
yeah,
I do not think AZ is complaining like that right now.
Yeah.
I think it could potentially be Alana Smith. She has not been as a standout player as we're used to seeing her.
Which is a shame.
But I think she's figuring out her role playing alongside Jessica Shepard, which she did before already. But I think she was much more of a dominant post player. Not even post. Like she spreads the floor. I don't know. It wasn't even too often that they would necessarily play together too, because it would be Fee and Lan, and then you may rotate Jess in for Lan or rotate Jess in for Fee in certain scenarios. But now they're playing with each other more, the bulk of the time, the majority of the time. And I do think there are a considerable amount of growing pains for those two bigs in this lineup. And I think, potentially Coach Fernandez has a little bit of his hands full. Obviously, he's a new coach. He's got a lot of talent on this roster. He's got a lot of personalities on this roster. I expect them ultimately to bounce back, but it is fair to say that Lan's impact, especially, as a max player, has been pretty minimal for Dallas so far. I mean, I don't even know if she's hit a 3 yet. We could double check, but she's certainly not putting up shots the same way that she was comfortable putting up shots. Against Atlanta, she was 0 for 6 from 3.
Jesus. Okay. So she's putting up the shots.
Against Minnesota, she was 0 for 1. Against Indiana, she was 0 for 1.
Yeah, so she's I'm right. She hasn't made a 3 yet.
No. But she is used to shooting way more than 1 3 a game.
Correct.
So I'm sure that, I don't know if the comments were, I don't know if she's the one complaining, whatever, but I do think that is probably on her mind.
Yeah, I mean, she could just be in a really rough cold patch. That happens. To go back to AZ, I'll agree with you. I don't think it's about AZ. Fortunately, she's not on the injury report for the game tonight that they have against Washington. So AZ, we're going to get that out of the minds. It's unfortunate that the coach is already making, comments like this.
Yeah, early. I know. And I don't know how it is in the locker room. I haven't really seen the players complaining too much. But you just hope this is a new, fun, young team, and you just want them to be having a good time and have a positive experience. And they had such a high in Indiana. And the 2 games that they lost this week were pretty close games. They were very competitive games that they could have won.
Absolutely.
And we're very much in the mix of it. So it's not like they're getting blown out by these good teams. They still are definitely competitive.
Yeah. It's 5-point loss, 4-point loss.
Right. Yeah. It's just gonna be a hard stretch, I think, right now. And they need, good leadership pulling them through it so they don't get in this rut of maybe we lose 5 games in a row, but we're just have a really tough schedule. But you don't want that to continue past the hard schedule. Right.
I believe in the talent. I believe they're going to figure it out. We both have them as, a likely playoff team this year. I think they're too good to not. And I certainly think that the coaches, Coach Fernandez's comments are pointed toward the only thing that we are going to give, a crap about is winning basketball games. That if you're not necessarily going to get, shots for free, we got to win games. And, I will be complimentary. Arike playing very well. She's playing very well. Paige obviously playing very well as well. They just need to tinker a little bit and figure out. If I'm them, maybe I give Leah Rue a little bit of run. See what she can bring to the team, because she hasn't gotten a ton of minutes. See her in a rotation for Lan or for Jess. Who knows? See what you can do. I think they have a big game tonight as we're recording this against Washington. That's one you got to win. You got to get right. You got to stop the skid and get things moving, because you're just too good to, lose basketball games.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was basically one half of our week following what was happening in Dallas. But we also wanted to follow what was happening for Indiana as they lost this opening day game at home, which was, I think, a big deal. Caitlin versus Paige, the 4 number ones.
Yeah, 4 number 1 overall picks in that first game.
Right. So we were thinking, is Indiana going to bounce back, or are they going to stay in this like little slump? And they won 2, lost 1.
Yeah, slightly lighter schedule, we should say. Significantly lighter schedule.
What, lighter than Dallas?
Yeah.
For sure. They won against the Sparks and the Storm, and they lost against the Mystics.
In a nail biter. In
overtime.
First things first, I think they win 3 games if Aaliyah Boston doesn't get hurt against Washington. She only played 20 minutes that game. You have her, you're probably able to figure out a way to deal with Kiki and Shakira, who kind of put you through the ringer. Washington won that game, but it scored 104 points and only hit 6 threes. So the paint was a little porous. It was, I say a little to try to be nice. Mo Billings had her hands full. They just didn't have enough size to deal with that. Happens. You're going to lose those kind of games. OT, who knows? Because they had to come back in order to force overtime. So really, I thought the momentum was with the Fever in that game.
Yeah.
And to only lose by 2, you're not going to be too upset about it. Compliments to Washington for getting it done.
I don't know. Like, I would be upset about losing this game for sure if I'm them. Like, that was a really tough loss. Coming back so much and then losing in overtime. I mean, yeah.
It's a gut punch.
It was. Like, they played so well in the fourth quarter, the Fever.
Of this game, yeah.
The beginning was just not great, but the fourth quarter was great. And you're like, wow, we have so much momentum now. And then, it was the Kiki. The overtime really was like the Sony Caitlin show.
Yep.
Which was very fun to watch.
Very fun.
Just the 2 of them going back and forth was great. So.
I mean, Indiana had a 9-point second quarter in this game.
Yeah.
So what? If you play a little better in the second quarter, you're winning in regulation, and it's probably not that big of a deal. But shows Washington's ability, of course. But Indiana, I think what was important in this game was that Caitlin was letting it fly. She attempted 17 threes, which is kind of crazy, in my opinion. However, she made 7 of them, 43% on the night, after she was 1 of 7 in the first game of the week. And there were articles coming out and videos coming out about how Caitlin's shot just hasn't been there on her pull-up threes, which is something that she certainly prides herself in. Personally, I think her three-point shooting at times can become a little overrated. You see the logo threes that she put out in college that she's had already in the WNBA, and she certainly still has that in her bag. But sometimes I do believe that she forces shots that she doesn't need to force. And in this game, she shot a ton of them, shot 17. I do think it was a concerted effort to shoot herself out of a shooting slump. And it fortunately carried into the end of the week, where she was very much more efficient, made 50% of her threes on the night to close out the week. I think the shot's there. I don't think that's part of her, I don't think that's something that she should always try to force so much. I've always been a proponent that Caitlin's best quality as a basketball player is her passing. She obviously gets a high number of assists at the expense of some turnovers, of course, when you carry the ball a ton. But we have on our bingo board that we believe that she's going to be a 10 assists per game player by the end of the year. And giving a player like Kelsey Mitchell, who is an all WNBA talent, as many looks to take the pressure off of you sometimes is something that I think she's still trying to figure out as she gets back from last year. But I will say, pretty complimentary Caitlin week. I thought she was pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah. No, she definitely was good. I mean, you're right that there were definitely some shots where I was just, she goes 1 for 7 in the beginning of the week, and then she tries 17. I'm like, this is a lot. But by the end of this week, she really hit her groove, I think. Granted, they were playing Seattle, which is not the best defense.
No.
So she was open a lot of the time, but I think this was very key in building back her confidence after coming off of such, a rough year last year with all of her injuries. So I think she has hit her groove now. She should be way more confident. And the team overall just wasn't shooting the ball super well.
Correct. But
Kelsey Mitchell had a bunch of good threes. Sophie Cunningham had some good looks. Lexi Hall hit a few, which I had been lower on Lexi Hall recently just because I feel like Lexi has, she's just kind of all over the place sometimes.
Yeah.
But
on the floor often.
She's always, on the floor. But she had some good offense this week. So the offense, I'm really not worried about.
No.
They love playing offense, this team. They love shooting.
Yes.
So offense, they're good.
Yes. Offense, I feel good going forward that there's a sustainable situation here. Top 5 offense through the first 4 games, limited sample size, quality.
Yeah.
The other side of the ball.
I think they do struggle still on the defensive end.
Yes.
Which has been a carryover from last year, from the year before. You mentioned Caitlin's turnovers. To me, it's really not that big of a deal when she is the primary ball handler and she's doing very creative passes to try to get her teammates looks. And I think that she should try those things, especially when they're playing lower seeded teams. So I don't really mind it so much as long as they're staying winning. If it starts to cost them games, I think, we'll have a problem. But at the moment, I think you're fine.
Yeah, work out the kinks.
Yeah.
That game against Seattle, she had 21 points, 7 boards, 10 assists on 5 made shots, 9-9 from the line.
Yeah.
I do think that, yes, sometimes the passes are a little too crafty. And you look at, Miss Crafty Passes over in Vegas, Chelsea Gray, they have seen her do that for ages. Jackie and Asia have been ready for a lifetime with Chelsea at this point. Caitlin is still developing that chemistry with Kelsey. She missed a lot of time last year. Important to note.
Right.
That chemistry with AB, which we know she has with both of those players. Just personally, don't be afraid to pass the ball. Don't be afraid to pass the ball.
She's not afraid to pass it.
No. Let's see. Let's see.
I think, we talked about how good offensively they were against Seattle. I think at the beginning of this Seattle game, they were very poor in their defense.
They were. And Steph White said as much at halftime.
Yeah. And I just feel like with Seattle, you have to know. I don't want to bash Seattle. I'm not doing that. But Seattle doesn't have the hottest shooters of any team. I don't think you need to be insanely defending every person on Seattle when you're doing so many fouls and fouling them at the very beginning of a game when you're already up by 14 points. In the beginning of the first quarter, you're already up. So relax a little bit.
Just chill.
Just be more careful. I don't know. It was just driving me crazy when they're up by 14 and still very sloppily fouling.
Yeah.
for no reason and then giving them free throws.
Yes.
When you don't need to be doing that.
No.
And by
45
the end
fouls
of the game,
in this game, by the way.
yeah,
45.
By the end of the game, they let up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they still won by a lot. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, there's something to be said when your head coach is saying, when you're up 11 at halftime, that we need to be playing better defense. That is noteworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Noteworthy. It's not like, oh, we done great to get out to an 11-point lead. No, we should be up by more because we should have let in less baskets by Seattle. Spend a little less time complaining to the referees. Get back on defense.
I think they would have been up by 20 if they didn't give them so many free throws.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is the obvious thing for this team to work on. They need to find a defensive identity. I believe that Aaliyah Boston raises that defense. Obviously, she was not in this game.
Yes.
Of course, important to note. Monique Billings is going to add to the defensive capabilities of this team.
I've loved watching Monique Billings.
Yes, me too. Me too. We were quite high on that signing. I still think that she's working through some things, but she's getting quality minutes. She was excited. They talked about it in that last game against Seattle. She was talking about, or we heard how excited Mo was to play, with the U.S. team with Caitlin, and that's what kind of drove under Steph White. That's what kind of drove her to sign with Indiana. So it was a nice little, a nice little view into Monique's decision to move to Indy, but she's going to be an important role. Maisha Hines-Allen is, arguably going to be pretty important, especially if AB misses more time. Mm-hmm. Certainly capable of being a wall at times. And then, you got defensive specialists. Lexi Hull has been known as a defensive specialist. Didn't necessarily show it a ton this week for us. Raven Johnson, a defensive specialist.
Yes.
Still trying to find her meaningful minutes on the court, but
yes,
16 minutes she was a neutral player, no plus, no minus. Good for a rookie.
I think Raven has been trying very hard, which I very much appreciate.
Love her for that.
To find her defense in this league.
Mm-hmm.
She's been going super hard at players. When they're rebounding or when they're inbounding, she's like always trying to swat it. Mm-hmm. When they're dribbling up the court, she's trying to steal it. Which is great. I love that energy.
Yeah.
There was an interesting stretch of time when Raven and Caitlin were playing together. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, for that long, but it at least was this period where Caitlin wasn't being the primary ball handler. Raven was really. And I think that was very creative by Stephanie White. I think especially with, I'm pretty sure it was in the Seattle game. So it was with Aaliyah Boston out. So you have to try to, find different looks for players when so much of the floor now is not being defended.
Yeah.
But that was cool. I liked watching Caitlin, move around without the ball and look for Raven. And Raven was, passing to people. I liked that. I thought that was interesting. And I'll keep watching out for things like that.
Yeah. And Raven's getting already a good pop at a home in Indiana. Like she's getting a lot of cheers whenever she takes the court, which is so good to see because after, what happened in the draft for the vocal minority of Fever fans that were bashing her and bashing the pick, I want her to have support. I want her to succeed more than I do a lot of rookies in this league. I'm not afraid to say that. And for her, she's doing the right things, buying in on defense. One of the most important things you can do as a rookie, try your hardest because that's going to endear you to the coach. And she's deferring on offense. We saw in the tournament how good and capable she is as an offensive player when she found her shot. She's not focused on that side of the ball really at all to start the season. She's just saying, how can I be out there and maximize my playing time? And it's when you buy in the ways that Raven is buying in that you realize what, Indiana could be when she figures it out even more and gets more comfortable at the professional level. So glad to see that Raven is solidly in the rotation for this Fever team.
Yeah, I will say she had no points this whole week.
Doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. No offense. Mm-hmm. But she's not given up baskets.
Against Dallas, she had 4 points, but she did not score another basket since then.
That's all right.
But she's in and she's defending, which is what they need from somebody. So
Yes.
good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly, I like their guard rotation. I like Ty
Yeah.
Harris too. Not a ton to say about Ty Harris, but
No, when
good player.
she's in, she can pop.
yeah, trusty guard. Shatori Walker-Kimbrough, she hasn't, been in the rotation. But Ty Harris, thumbs up.
Yeah, for sure. Ty has been a good addition.
I honestly, good trajectory for Indiana. I was a little down on them after they lost that game in OT to Washington. And we have to see what happens when they play the New Yorks and the Vegases of the league to see if they are in that tier of team that we think they might be come the end of the year. Certainly things to work out. But I honestly, if I'm an Indiana Fever fan, I'm feeling pretty positive. I'll say to the Fever fans that are making crazy trade ideas, crazy trade pitches, like trading Kelsey Mitchell for Kelsey Plum and Cam Brink, which I saw for real online, get that out of here. Focus on the team that you have now because they're pretty dang good.
Yeah, for
Personally.
sure. Well, this week I think will be a very good test. They're playing the Valkyries twice coming up.
Okay.
It's like back to back, but they're almost a week apart. So they're playing the Valkyries on Friday, May 22nd. Then their next game is Thursday, May 28th,
Jeez.
also against the Valkyries.
Is that a home and home?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like a
one
week
in
apart.
Indy, one in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that I think will be a very good test
Huge test.
because you have to keep up with the threes that the Valkyries will make.
Yep.
And you have to defend their threes.
Yep. Get out and
Perimeter
guard.
defense.
Yeah.
So I am looking towards that for sure, those matchups.
Yep. Test them early. See what they can do. Well, I think that covers it from our perspectives on Dallas and Indiana, both teams that we expect to have, decent weeks to come here, even if it wasn't necessarily popping as we were following them this week. For next week, we are going to be checking in on the two new expansion teams, Portland and Toronto, because they have a matchup against one another on Thursday, which will be fun. The first time that these franchises are crossing up against one another. So we're going to be following them each as we lead up to that game on Thursday. And it'll be a fun little clash of the two brand new teams, and we'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I feel like I have not paid super close attention to these two new teams yet, but both have gotten their first wins under their belt.
Yeah.
So I think it's time we check in and we see who's popping off. Obviously, Slim is popping off.
Obviously, Slim is popping off. You've got Portland.
Marina popped off in a game.
Marina popped off. Yep. Dara is telling us on TikTok. You've got Portland hitting game winners against New York.
Yeah.
Sarah Ashley Barker.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You didn't see that coming.
Nope.
So we will follow them.
Yes. Going to be fun to pay attention to them this week. If you have any comments about Dallas or Indiana or about Portland and Toronto, you can send us an email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, and let us know how you're feeling about those clubs, or any club, of course. Just let us know. You can also connect with us on Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok at ATBPod. Leave us a 5-star rating and review telling us about how much you love the show. Subscribe to the YouTube, and of course, tell your friends and family to keep up, pay attention to the WNBA season this year, which is already in full swing and a lot of fun. Kristen, anything else before we let this one go and go check out that fun matchup between Washington and Dallas tonight?
We discovered this new Upshot League.
Yes, we should talk about the Upshot League.
I don't know what in general there is to say. It's obviously very new.
Correct.
It's this professional, but
Yes.
I guess people are viewing it as a development league, though it's not, directly associated with the W. But a lot of our faves have been playing in that.
A lot of our faves? What faves? Tell me what faves.
I don't know. You're like obsessed with Megan McConnell.
Yeah, well, sure. Megan McConnell's there. Deja Kelly was cooking.
Cheyenne Sellers is there.
Cheyenne Sellers is there. Yes. Let me get the names of the Upshot League real quick.
Okay, so right now it's 4 teams.
Yes.
They have announced 2 more teams.
Oh, that's news to me.
It is all, in the southeast region. So they have like Jacksonville.
Yes, the Jacksonville Waves, the Charlotte Crown, the Greensboro Groove, and the Savannah Steel. Mm-hmm. Plus 2. I didn't know about the 2 that are incoming.
Well, one in Nashville.
One in Nashville. True.
I think there's another one.
Starting 2027 and presumably another one. This is like the seed of a developmental league.
Yep.
We have the G League, the Gatorade League in the MNBA.
Is that what it stands for?
It's G for Gatorade. It used to be the D League for development.
Oh my!
And then it became the G League because Gatorade's sponsored. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah. It's got literally the Gatorade logo.
It was the G League.
I mean, check me if I'm wrong on that. I'm like 99% sure.
Crazy.
Yes, the Gatorade League in the MWNBA.
Okay.
But yes, we've got like games playing. If you check out Upshot, they literally just started, and every game is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Kind of nice, full broadcast,
and it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. So like surprisingly good. I mean, it looks like Athletes Unlimited.
I think it looks better than Athletes Unlimited
in some cases. Yeah, and decent sized stadiums. I don't know exactly where these arenas are. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let me just cruise through a couple stats if I can find them.
Well, it was just so funny because when I first saw this website that they have, like it listed these 4 team names, but then next to the team names, it didn't have their logos. It had like the Atlanta Dream logo and the Dallas Wings logo.
And the Aces logo.
What?
Yeah.
How are you like stealing? How do you say Jacksonville Wave and have the Atlanta Dream logo next to you? And then when it listed the players, it was just like, I just spazzed on my keyboard and have like 8P31.
Yes.
It's like a robot typing out the names. I'm like, these are not names or stats. Like, what is this website?
Yeah.
But I guess they quickly fixed it and now it looks pretty legit.
I think that was the Upshot preseason and they were literally still coding the website.
It looked completely fake.
If you click on the rosters now, you can see player you can see points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. Got a note, Deja Kelly, I said 31 points, 14 boards, 8 assists in her first game with the Charlotte Crown. Other folks of highlight, Lasha Petrie, 22.5 points per game, 1.5 rebounds, 1 assist. On the Jacksonville Wave, we got Ariel Hearn, 25, 5 and 4. Cheyenne Sellers is here. Harmony Turner is here. Deja Kelly is here. There are players. Z Spearman is here. Mm-hmm. Players from this draft class that are still playing professional ball because a league like this exists. Who knows how much they're getting paid? Probably not a lot. Same thing. I mean, in G League players don't get paid a lot. So it's very much, consistent there. But this could be the seed of a developmental league for the W, which would be very nice if you could not only have your development pool, but also an entire sub roster of development players that are associated with your organizations that you have, somewhat level of rights to. Last I'll say, Diamond Johnson on the Greensboro Groove, 28.5 points, 4.5 boards, 4.5 assists. There's some legit scoring going on down here in the southeast end of the country. So if there's no W game on that you want to watch, check out the Upshot League. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to do it for this episode of Attack the Baseline. Very much looking forward to Portland and Toronto this week. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. As always, what are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the Baseline. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you very soon.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.